Week 4 in the NFL, let's get it started. I apologize, this video is posted a little bit late. I took these picks Wednesday morning, haven't had a chance to cut the video since then. So some of the lines have moved, I still think there's value to be had. So I'm covering 6 games today, starting off with Cincinnati at Carolina. So Cincinnati has been a weak team this year. I think they've underperformed a lot of what people's expectations were. I had them as not a great team before the year. People thought I was crazy when I bet the Patriots to beat them straight up week 1. But the Patriots won and Cincinnati lost. Since then, Cincinnati hasn't done very much as a team. So when I look at Cincinnati, there's a lot of weakness, especially in their defense. With it being week 4, it's probably about 3/4 past year performance versus 1/4 this year performance. So looking at their defense, they haven't played very well on defense. Their offensive line's pretty weak. Their receivers are average. Their quarterback, Joe Burrow's average, and they're opposing Carolina. So Carolina has a weaker quarterback with Andy Dalton. We know this. Andy Dalton came in and won last week. He's an aging quarterback. He's a veteran quarterback. So despite the fact that he may not be highly ranked, he brings a lot of maturity to the team. When I look at the running backs and receiving core for Carolina, they're not as good. Their offensive line's okay. Their defensive front's very weak, and their defensive secondaries are around average. One of the things I see in this game is that I have Carolina having a slightly better defense and a significantly better offensive line. So with that, I actually made 2 picks in this game. I made Carolina plus 4.5 minus 107. I took that at Prime Sportsbooks, and I took Carolina and Cincinnati under 48.5 minus 110, and I took that at ESPN Bet. So I think that Carolina, being at home, will manage to hang in the game here. They won't lose by that much. As well, I think with both of the teams, their offenses aren't particularly spectacular, so the total will stay low, and I got it under 48.5 at minus 110, and I took that at ESPN Bet. So the next game that I was taking a look at was Kansas City against the LA Chargers. So we know that Kansas City is a good team. Everybody knows this. If you follow football even marginally, you know this. So Patrick Mahomes, I have ranked as the 4th best quarterback in the NFL. Their receiving ranks are very good. With Isaac Pacheco out, their running backs are kind of falling below average. Their offensive line's good. Their defensive front's good. Their defensive secondary is really around average. So all around a pretty well-rounded team, and a team that is kind of good both on offense and defense. When I look at the Chargers, Justin Herbert, who's supposed to play, we have to see how the injury news breaks, is around an average quarterback. Their running backs around average. Their receiving core is very weak. Their offensive line's below average. Their defensive front is above average. Their defensive secondary is below average. So the Chargers are really more of an average team. They're not a great team. They're not a super weak team, but they have decent pieces enough. So in this game, I took the Chargers plus 8.5 at minus 110 at DraftKings, and I took KC and the Chargers over 39 at minus 107. I took that at Prime Sportsbook. The first thing is that 8.5 points are a lot of points for the NFL, especially being given that at home. And I understand that Kansas City's a much better team, and it's true. I wouldn't argue with that point. It's a divisional game. They're getting a lot of points. They're at home, and they're able to put up a fight. There's a difference between teams that I have a lot weaker, like, say, a Tennessee or a Washington, who don't even have really the pieces there to put up a fight. The Chargers had the pieces there to put up a fight, so I think that they'll hang in and won't lose by greater than a touchdown. Between the two teams, their defense is around average. Kansas City's offense is a lot better as well. The Chargers are really slightly better on offense than they are on defense. 39 is a tiny total, and this somewhat diversifies because I feel like if Kansas City scores that many points to cover the spread, then if the Chargers score anything, they'll cover that over. So that's the pick for this game. Chargers plus 8.5 at minus 110 at DraftKings, and KC and the Chargers over 39 at minus 107. I took that at Prime Sportsbook. So the next game that I was taking a look at this NFL Sunday is Washington versus Arizona. So Washington played a good game last week against Cincinnati. Overall, I have them ranked as a pretty weak team. Their offensive line has played pretty decently. Their receivers are not good. Their secondaries I have as one of the weakest in the NFL. Their defensive front's really around average. Arizona, quarterbacks average, offensive skill positions around, and as well, I have their defense ranked near the bottom of the league. But with this game, it came with a high total being 50. So I took Washington and Arizona under 50.5 at minus 110, and I took that at DraftKings. So 50 is really a high high total for the NFL. Again, the NFL totals usually, in years past, they were slightly down this year. In years past, it would really be more 45, 46, 44, 47, somewhere around there is average. Once you start to get above 50 or at 50, you're getting to a higher total. I think that this is a bit of an overreaction. Jayden Daniels, the quarterback for Washington, I think played the game of his life last week against Cincinnati, and they scored a lot of points, and I had the under, but the over easily covered. I think it's a little bit of an overreaction here. They're looking at the big scores that Washington had last week and saying, you know, they're an over team, let's take the over. But the fundamentals in place with that team are still there. Jayden Daniels is still a rookie. They still don't necessarily have the skill positions to score a lot of points. So I took Washington and Arizona under 50.5, -110, and I took it at DraftKings. So another game in the afternoon slate on Sunday that I'm taking a look at is Cleveland versus Las Vegas. So Cleveland and Las Vegas are really around the same in quarterbacks. As I mentioned last week when I had bet Carolina over Las Vegas, Gardner Minshew's ranked pretty weak by Pro Football Focus. Those are the numbers that I use for these games. As well, I don't see the quarterback for Cleveland as particularly great either. With the receiving cores, Las Vegas has a slight edge. With the offensive line, Las Vegas has a decent offensive line. Cleveland's is really below average. The defensive front, both teams are good. They're both above average. And in the secondary, they're very weak. So with this game, I actually took the over. I took Cleveland, Las Vegas over 37.5 at +100. I took that at ESPN bet. So the secondaries are very weak here. And it's an interesting fact that passing's been down across the NFL this year, but these small blips happen. I think with these teams, they may not be great offensively, but they're playing against weak secondaries, which will allow more passing, more completed passes, and allow kind of the success there. 37.5 is a very low NFL total. Really, anything can go wrong, and it's going to fly over that total. So that's what I took in this game, was Cleveland and Las Vegas over 37.5 at +100, and I took that at ESPN bet. So moving to Monday night, I'm taking a look at the game between Tennessee and Miami. So Miami's an interesting story. Their quarterback had a severe concussion again, and he's going to be out for some time. So the quarterback situation is really a question mark with Miami. With Tennessee, they don't particularly have a good quarterback. They haven't the entire year. So people may think of this as a detriment towards Miami, but I see it as relatively equal to what Tennessee is dealing with. Miami running backs, receiving core is very good. Their offensive line's okay. Their defense should be around average. Tennessee really, with the exception of their running backs, I see it as a weak team all around. I've seen them as a weak team the entire year. I probably have bet against them, I think, about 3 times at this point. And for this game on Monday night, I'm going to make it a 4th. I took Miami money line -109 at Prime Sportsbook. So if we ignore the quarterback drama in Miami and the uncertainty there, if we look at every other statistic across the team, Miami's a better team really across the board by a significant margin. I think it's a great price to get -109 to get close to 50-50 on this game. So I took Miami -109 and I took it at Prime Sportsbooks. And the last game that I'm taking a look at is the other game on Monday night between Seattle and Detroit. So Seattle has a good quarterback. Detroit with Jared Goff, he's really in the middle. Running backs, Detroit has the edge here. The receiving core, they're really about the same. You know, with the ranks, unless you're talking about kind of the tops and the bottoms, they're really sort of clustered. With the offensive line, Detroit has an edge. Seattle has a significant edge on defense, having a slightly better defensive front, but having a significantly better secondary. And so for that reason, based really on the strength of the secondary and the better quarterback, I took Seattle +4 at -114. I took that at Prime Sportsbook. So Seattle's on the road, and that's true. I think that Seattle's a better team here. They're both good teams, and Seattle, I think, has the strength here to not get completely destroyed and to either win the game or to lose by less than 4 points. So I took Seattle +4 at -114, and I took that at Prime Sportsbook. So thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.